Die My Love is a film about an unwanted pregnancy, about postpartum depression, about loneliness, isolation, and the psychological ground where severe mental illness can grow. Grace, the main character, is built from all of these layers. And honestly, almost everyone loses it a little in the first year after giving birth. Throughout the film, we hear women openly talk about how mentally destabilizing the postpartum period can be. Why does this happen? Because of dramatic hormonal shifts after childbirth. Every woman struggles with it, just at different intensities. For most, it's temporary. A few difficult days, mood swings, tears, feeling overwhelmed. This is what we call baby blues. But about 10 to 15% of women develop postpartum depression, deep sadness, loss of motivation, feelings of worthlessness, complete exhaustion. By now, these symptoms should sound familiar because Grace clearly shows many of them. And then there is something even more severe, a rare but extremely serious condition: loss of contact with reality, visual and auditory hallucinations, extreme mood shifts, disorganized, chaotic behavior. Sounds familiar now, right? It seems very likely that Grace has entered postpartum psychosis. Understanding this is absolutely essential if we want to understand the film and Grace's inner world. There's a scene where Grace hides in the grass. This scene isn't random. The film is adapted from an Argentine novel with the same name, and the book begins exactly here. Grace is hiding in the grass, thinking that if she had a knife, she could cut herself and let herself bleed. She secretly watches her husband and her son and wonders how she could possibly be the mother and wife of these two people. She thinks about the night she had sex with her husband, the night that led to this pregnancy, and wonders why they didn't end it the way they usually did, why she became a mother at all. This film offers a very different perspective on motherhood. And that matters because it is made by women: the novelist Ariana Harwich, the director Lynne Ramsay, and Jennifer Lawrence, who plays Grace. That alone makes this film powerful. Instead of repeating the cliché image of glowing, fulfilled motherhood, the film breaks it. Many women do not fit into that perfect post-birth narrative, and many are terrified to talk about it because they know they'll be judged. This film creates space for those unspeakable experiences. And here's something striking. Jennifer Lawrence was 4 months pregnant during filming. This story comes directly from women's lived experiences, which is probably why many men struggle to emotionally connect with this film. Once we understand that Grace is experiencing psychosis, many scenes that initially felt confusing suddenly start to make sense, because the inner world of a psychotic person is fundamentally different from ours. What we are watching is Grace's psychological collapse, unfolding gradually. As the film progresses, Grace sinks deeper into psychosis. Her symptoms intensify. Take the motorcyclist, for example. At first, he feels more like part of Grace's hallucinations than a real person. Early on, he appears briefly, faceless, distant, unsettling, almost threatening. He doesn't interact with Grace, he's just there, an observer. But as Grace's sexual frustration with Jackson increases, the motorcyclist becomes more present. He gains form, identity, and within Grace's delusional world, he begins to fulfill unmet desires. Grace's self-harming behavior also intensifies over time. This is important. Self-harm is very common in schizophrenia spectrum disorders. Many patients report hearing voices commanding them to hurt themselves. In Grace's case, self-harm also serves another function. By directing her aggression toward herself, she protects her son. If the violence stays inside her body, her child remains safe. And here's another crucial detail. The child has no name. He is simply called Boy. This is not accidental. A mother who lacks a stable identity cannot give identity to her child. Naming makes someone specific, singular, real. Grace cannot do that because she herself is fragmented. From the wedding onward, Grace's condition deteriorates rapidly. The boundary between reality and hallucination dissolves. We are shown images that contradict each other, scenes that don't logically connect, moments that can be interpreted in multiple, conflicting ways. This is exactly what happens inside a psychotic mind. The director isn't telling Grace's story about her. She is forcing us to experience Grace's reality. Every confusion, every break between fantasy and reality. And it's deeply uncomfortable because we are not psychotic. We are visitors in a world that is not built for us. Does Grace think she is a cat? The film gives us hints. Her aggression toward the dog, the way she moves on all fours, the way she claws at the walls. What we are seeing is very close to depersonalization, a sense of being disconnected from oneself. Her body doesn't feel like hers. Her thoughts feel alien. It's as if she is watching herself from the outside. In the novel, Grace repeatedly describes this experience. Grace moved from New York, a large, vibrant city, to a quiet, rural, isolated area. She became a mother without truly choosing it. Her partner is emotionally drifting away from her, and Grace has a history of severe childhood trauma. We get brief references to a psychiatric hospital, mentions of losing her parents early in life, but the full history is never explained, neither in the book nor the film, and that absence matters. This is the central question Grace keeps asking herself. Who am I now? Alienation from the self is one of the strongest themes in the novel. Grace feels lost. She can no longer write because writing requires identity, and she doesn't know who she is anymore. Her psychotic experiences intensify this depersonalization. She feels herself drifting away from being human. Animals live by instinct. They are free. Two things Grace has completely lost. This explains her attachment to animals, especially horses, and to wild nature. Nature becomes meaningful to her because it represents something she's missing, a place where she might find herself again. The film ends with Grace's complete psychological breakdown. She burns her writing, language. The thing that connects humans to one another no longer belongs to her. She crosses that line. She walks into nature, but this nature is burning too, because nature, despite its beauty, is also dark, violent, and terrifying. Grace is returning to her destructive, instinctual core. She goes alone, because anyone who follows her will be harmed. That's why she doesn't take her son. Jackson follows her for a while, then stops. He watches from a distance because Grace has entered a world that non-psychotic people cannot enter. This is not a happy ending. It is a brutally dark one. We are witnessing the collapse of a woman who had been forcing herself to survive. The book ends differently, and it's important to know this. In the novel, Grace is not discharged from the psychiatric hospital. In the final scene, she is attacked by another woman whom Grace believes is a wild animal. Instead of fear, Grace feels something familiar. She recognizes herself in that woman. Her future, a complete departure from humanity, total surrender to an instinctual animal world.